Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of God, the all-compassionate, the all-merciful. In this video, we're going to be continuing where we left off from Ibn Arabi's Fusus al-Hikam, Fast 1. We examined central themes and topics at the beginning of Fast 1. Today, we will be continuing with a very short text, which is very dense, very controversial, one of the most controversial texts that Ibn Arabi has ever written, and which has received objections from philosophers, from theologians, and even some Sufis. Let's see what this text is and how we can interpret this. This is the text. فهو الإنسان الحادث الأزلي والنشأ الدائم الأبدي والكلمة الفاصلة الجامعة فتم العالم بوجوده. Let us start with the translation of the first part. The human being is created in time and eternal, the coming into being and ever living. At first glance, this text sounds self-contradictory. And not only that, some have claimed that it's dangerous, and theologians don't like this at all. They're objecting that if the human being is both hadith, that is created in time, and azali, that is eternal, it means that there are other realities. There are realities other than God, next to God, who are eternal. And this goes against the monotheism in religion, and that they have opposed this vehemently. What does Ibn Arabi mean here, and how do the commentators interpret this text? The majority of the commentators are in good agreement that by the hadith, that is created in time, Ibn Arabi means the material aspect of a human being, the worldly aspect of the human constitution that is created in time. That is easy to handle, easy to interpret. What is difficult is the word azali, that is eternal, that has always existed. Let's see what the commentators have to say about this. Considering the word azali or qadim, Makki, one of the commentators, say that what is eternal is human being in world of God's knowledge. That is, humans fixed entity in God's knowledge. Jāmī says what is eternal is the human spirit. But not all human spirits are eternal. Only the perfect man's spirits are eternal. Other humans who have not reached that stage of the perfect man, their spirit is not eternal. This is challenging to conceive and to reconcile. I'm not criticizing, I'm just pointing, I'm just putting everything on the table. Then comes Qayṣarī, and I like his view better, it makes more sense. He says what is eternal is human beings' fixed entity, like human beings' reality in God's knowledge. And then concerning the word huduth, that is being created in time, he introduces two angles here. He says, yes, human being is eternal, but this eternity is not the same as God's eternity. He's saying that human being's eternity is essentially important, essentially preceded by non-existence. That is not the case for God. And then he introduces another angle for humans being created in time. The first aspect, first angle was the humans huduth zati, that is being created in time essentially. The second aspect, huduth zamani, that is being created in time temporally. He's saying, of course, the human body what did not exist before and came into being was created in time. So in these two aspects, human body is created in time. Considering his or her fixed entity, the human being is eternal. Aware that some are going to attack this interpretation, saying this way there are again two eternities, divine eternity and the human eternity, or even the eternity of every being, every created being in the world of God's knowledge, because they were there in God's knowledge in Ibn Arabi's framework. This way we have two eternities, human and God, and that is problematic. Qayṣarī points out that God's eternity, especially when we say God's primacy, is in a sense negative, in the sense that when we are talking about God's primacy, it doesn't mean that there was a non-existence before and then there was an existence. In other words, God always existed and will always exist. But again, even this sentence is a crafted sentence, a time-present sentence. We are only understanding this by our conceptualizing mind. But even in this framework, God has always existed. God's essence has always existed and will always exist. God's essence is absolute existence in this sense. There was not a time that it did not exist before. And then Qayṣarī adds this puzzling statement. The eternity of the possible beings concerns the continuity of their existence through God's existence. They becoming existent from non-existence through God's existence, because that existence does not belong to them. This is a puzzling assertion, and I'm not sure others are also have cleared out what he's saying here. Ekrem Demirli, the Turkish commentator of Ibn Arabi, says in Turkish, ezeliyet eşya için ilahi ilimdeki başlangıça işaret eder. That is, eternity refers to eternity of the entities, the corporeal entities, refers to the beginning in God's knowledge. Beginning of what? It seems like, at least in this text, he's not sure what Qayṣarī means here. If by this beginning we mean that, like, the possible entities, realities began in the world of God's knowledge, then why bother talk about eternity? They have existed there. If they mean that the human, like both Qayṣarī and their interpreters, like Ekrem Demirli, if they mean that human reality, possible entities, realities are eternal, but they come into existence in terms of corporeal existence, external existence, through a wujud, through an existence that God gives them, then that's a very puzzling way to put the sentence. They could have basically said humans and other possible entities, eternity, realities are eternal, but their external existence is created in time. Which one does Qayṣarī mean? So from what I understand from the commentators, they are trying to say, and I think I agree with this, I agree with this view, that human beings' reality, fixed entity, is eternal in God's knowledge. It's not that God wanted to create the human being and then he started thinking in his mind, okay, there should be such and such being. That the whatness, the quality of human being was always present in God's knowledge. Think about this. You want to create a house and you want to make it, I don't know, white with certain architectural patterns, with a garden. No matter what details there are, that the conception of the house was and always been in your mind. I'm using that always in quotation marks. The same goes for God. The human's whatness was ever present in God's knowledge. He knew what a human being is mentally in quotation, in his knowledge. He just poured it out, through his existence. I think that is what Ibn Arabi is trying to say. And I agree with Qayṣarī's view on humans coming into existence in two angles. One, essentially, essentially human reality's existence is preceded by non-existence. And temporally, like physically, they were non-existent before. I agree with both of these. Let's now see the second part of the first phrase, وَالنَّشْءُ الدَّائِمُ الْأَبَدِ, the coming into being and ever living. The initial part, the coming into being, is quite easy to handle, I think. Here again, they are referring to, Ibn Arabi is referring to the human's physical existence. But continuity, coming into being and continuity, English does not highlight that much. by this Ibn Arabi, says Qayṣarī, refers to human beings' life in this world and the hereafter. But again, we come to this tough word, abadi, that is ever living. Again, that's going to be problematic from the perspective of theologians. Qayṣarī, based on his explanation, says anything that is eternal, it is also ever existing, because he goes through logical argumentation. I'm not going to be boring you with that, because he says if an entity is eternal but not ever living, it would be like a logical contradiction. And based on this, he handles it quite elegantly and very quickly. Anything that is eternal will be ever living. Let us now examine the second part of the text we started this section with. فهو الإنسان الدَّ والكلمة الفاصلة الجامعة. He's both the separating and the uniting word. That is, he's both the separating and uniting principle. What is he trying to say? Among the writings of the commentators for this section, I like Muvahhid's interpretation. He says, I'm going to first quote him in Farsi. انسان کلمه‌ای است که از یک سو مخلوق را از خالق جدا می‌کند و از سوی دیگر او را به خالق پیوند می‌دهد. That is, the human being is a word, a principle, let's say, that from one aspect separates the created beings from the creator, and from another aspect, he, the human being, connects the created beings to the creator. و از این روز که ابن عربی میگوید انسان برزخ بین حق و خلق یا وجوب امکان است. This is why Ibn Arabi says the human being is the barzakh, the intermediary between the real and the created, between the creator and the created, between the necessary and the possible. هم خلق است و هم حق، هم واجب است هم ممکن. He, the human being, is both the real and the created, both essential and possible. و در یک معنی دیگر نه این است و نه آن. Put differently, the human being is neither this nor that. Again, barzakh, intermediary. و چون خطی وهمی است که از سایه را از آفتاب جدا می سازد. And he, the human being, is like an imaginal line that separates the sun from shadow. That is quite an interesting interpretation. I think that captures what Ibn Arabi is trying to say. Ibn Arabi considers human being the barzakh, the intermediary between the created and the creator. On one aspect, human being is divine. On the other aspect, he is created. Other created beings do not have this. They are created, period. But the human being has divine aspect. We know from the Quran, we have repeated this many times. فَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي, says God. After creating Adam, I breathed my spirit into him. And building on that, Ibn Arabi says the human being is the only created being that has the aptitude to encompass and to reflect all divine names. That is, the human being alone has divine spirit, that divine aptitude that others do not have, and because of that the human being is the barzakh, the intermediary. The last part of the quote says فَتَمَّ الْعَالَمُ بِوُجُودِهِ. That is, the world is perfected by his existence. That is, the world is perfected by the human being's existence. Why? This will make more sense if we put this in the passage that immediately follows this, but the passage, it's better that I paraphrase it. It's not so central to examine it like linguistically. In what follows, Ibn Arabi says, and I have touched upon this in our previous video, the human being is God's vicegerent, Khalifa in Arabic. Because of human being's nature, because of that intermediary, barzakhund, if I may, human being is the vicegerent on earth's for God. And again, this has Quranic roots as well. God said, I want to appoint a vicegerent on earth. We also learned from our previous video that the human being was the ultimate purpose of the entire creation. Also, we learned that Ibn Arabi said the human being is God's seal, the treasure chest of existence. The entire existence is sealed through human being, and the human being is that seal. Then, building on this, Ibn Arabi says, given all these points, the human being is so central to the entire existence that without him, by him we mean the perfect man, without him the entire existence would fall apart. The entire existence would cease, and the resurrection will come about. This is because, says Ibn Arabi, that God's vicegerent, God's seal, is not present anymore. So with this, we better understand the last part of the quote. فَتَمَّ الْعَالَمُ بِوُجُودِهِ. The world is perfected by the human being. But again, Qayṣarī can help us here tremendously. He says, Ibn Arabi told us at the beginning of Fast 1 that God wanted to create an all-comprehensive being, Kāwnī Jāmī, on which to contemplate his names. And the human being is that, the perfect man is that all-comprehensive being. And then Ibn Arabi told us that the perfect man, the human Adam in this sense, and other perfect men, which are aspects of the Muhammadan reality, was the spirit to the entire cosmos. The cosmos was a material dead body and required a spirit. And Adam, the perfect man, became the spirit of the corpse of the cosmos. And this is a very elegant interpretation. This is a quotation, but the interpretation is this. When Ibn Arabi says, the world was perfected with human being, Qayṣarī says this is exactly what he's saying. The cosmos was a corpse, was a soulless form, and the human being, the perfect man, became the soul of that corpse, animated that corpse. So, says Qayṣarī, perfected that corpse. And we know that the perfection of the world is not necessarily and to a great degree in the body, but in its spirit. Spirit is higher in reality and existence than material aspect of the cosmos. With this interpretation, Qayṣarī sheds light on this text, and I think that makes perfect sense for what Ibn Arabi is trying to say. I mean, that is exactly what Ibn Arabi is trying to say in this text. We're going to be stopping here because we're going to run into another important section in the following video. The text immediately following that is going to be talking about humans' comprehensiveness in relation to divine names. That's a lengthy discussion. We cannot handle that in this video. So what are the assumptions in this section of Fusus al-Hikam? What are the implications? We're going to be discussing these in our upcoming live stream. Prepare your questions, let's meet, and let's together try to understand this text in greater depth. Thank you for watching.